I've got a cramp in my leg.
Welcome to the protest. Tonight, Donald Trump.
Should we begin?
That's the news, apparently. Donald Trump calls Ukraine's President Zelenskyy a dictator. What the US's shift in support for Russia means for the rest of the world.
They've been the butt of jokes for decades, but could the humble donkey actually be man's best friend? Inside the rebrand to stop people making fools of mules.
Not quite mules. Anyway, we chat with American actor, singer, comedian Akana on her debut Down Under.
And how some men's decor decisions are dating deal breakers, giving women the ick. Don't worry, ladies, all my UFC posters are framed.
Yeah. Very good. We are live from the lands of the Cooler Nation, and we have Double Trouble tonight with Nick Cody. And I don't know if you heard, but Kate Lambert.
I just got a cramp in my leg.
Yeah.
Battling through injury.
You know why my husband made me fly back from Japan yesterday? Economy. And I have not been the same since. It's rough back there.
Not as much fun. It's not as much fun as private, is it, Kate? Hey?
Depends on your definition of fun.
Are you good now?
I think I'm all right.
Okay.
Anyone got any magnesium?
We'll do a shout out for the audience. Okay, let's get into today's top stories. And Anthony Albanese has again fended off questions about a date for the upcoming federal election. He got a little tetchy with reporters in South Australia today when they asked if they would clash with the AFL's gather round scheduled for the week before Easter. Albo made it very clear how he feels about it all.
It's so boring. It's so boring. The questions. No, gather round's fantastic. Just one of the initiatives. What's boring is questions about election time.
What?
And because you ask it, I've been asked it for a year.
Give us
Answer.
an answer.
What do you think, mate?
A grim warning tonight from ASIO. This was remarkable. Top spook Mike Burgess says Australia has never faced so many national security risks all at once. He's revealed 5 major terror plots, most involving minors, were foiled in the past year. Of most concern, espionage, foreign interference and politically motivated violence.
If the spy game has a rule book, it is being rewritten. If there are red lines, they're being blurred or deliberately rubbed out.
Forecasters believe the wild storm that left a trail of destruction through the Perth Hills last night was likely a microburst and not a tornado. The storm has lifted roofs off homes, brought down trees and power lines. More than 8,000 properties were left without power. One woman says the wind was so strong it carried her husband about 10 metres in the air.
Wow. And a Melbourne real estate agency is being slammed for asking a prospective tenant to provide a virtual tour of their current home as part of a rental application. Industry experts say it's not technically illegal, but doubts that it's something that would pass the pub test. The agency says it made the request when the applicant didn't provide enough information about themselves.
What?
This is ridiculous.
That's insane.
Yeah.
And also, how do they know that I'm filming from inside my house and that I'm not filming secretly from inside your palace?
So true. Look how well I take care of all the ground.
And here are my servants.
I'm a trusted renter.
I don't mind real estate agents being lazy dogs, but at least turn up in person, all right? Turn up in person.
You already have to fill out, though, so many things. It's like you need your previous address from 12 times that you've moved, have all the details there. Who are you? 14 points of identification. Like, what else? They surely can't need that.
What if they're using it as a tiebreaker?
Okay.
So they get it down to 3.
What will it tell you, though?
I don't know, just whether or not you're looking to look after the house?
No, I think it's just nosy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's
Because
just nosy.
if that is the case and it becomes a tiebreaker, as if you're then taking that phone call in your dodgiest room.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? Like you're there with like a perfectly placed flower bed.
But maybe it's like it's like an unseen exam. You take their call, they go, all right, out the door, turn left. I want to see what's there.
Like, well, I'm in a tunnel, actually. I can't take it.
I'm breaking up.
Not even someone else's house. I just put the Zoom background on and go, yes, I live in front of the Golden Gate Bridge.
Now, when was the last time you took a proper look in the mirror and then properly examined how you feel and think about donkeys? Be honest. Maybe you need to enrol in a new university course designed to challenge the ways that pop culture has shaped our view of man's best friend, the donkey.
Blue flower, red thorns, blue flower, red thorns, blue flower, red thorns. This would be so much easier if I wasn't colourblind.
To pop culture, donkeys serve one purpose, to be the butt of the joke.
Oh, now what difference does it make?
But these asses are butts no more, because the University of Exeter has launched a new course to examine the cinematic stereotypes weighing down these beasts of burden.
What this module tries to do is it tries to think about the representation of donkeys. They're living, breathing, sentient, intelligent beings.
The U of E has even partnered with a donkey sanctuary to give budding filmmakers a chance to interact with real-life equus asinus. That's Latin.
Today was a great opportunity for us to show off our donkeys for the sentience and for the intelligent animals that we know that they are.
Cool.
Donkeys aren't just super smart. They're playful, deeply empathetic, and are incredibly hard workers.
The pyramids wouldn't have been built if it weren't for donkeys carrying all those materials. Their influence on human society is extraordinary.
And yet we've been making fools of mules for centuries. Shakespeare was doing it 400 years ago.
I love thee.
And everyone remembers Winnie the Pooh's comically depressed Eeyore.
I'll get used to it.
But recently, the big screen has offered a bit more respect to the noble burro. In 2022, the donkey-centric film EO won the jury prize at the Cannes Film Festival, while Irish tragicomedy The Banshees of Inisherin received a whopping 9 Oscar nominations.
I am not putting me donkey outside when I'm sad, okay?
The whole inspiration for the module actually came from Colin Farrell's speech at the Golden Globes.
And lastly, Jenny the donkey, who is, Jenny.
How we see donkeys in film is very much linked to how they're treated in real life. Seeing them as stubborn, annoying objects is partly what enables us to have such a harsh and dismissive attitude towards donkeys and towards their care.
So can we break our preconceived notions and finally reach equality for equines? Or are we destined to forever find asses funny?
I'm making waffles.
Aww, you love them.
Yeah, I do love them, even though a friend of mine had a Jack Russell.
No.
And they went to a farm and the Jack Russell got kicked by a donkey.
No.
I'm just putting it out there.
What does that lead with
Wow.
that?
Well, because I'm just
All this hard work at the University of Exeter. And you've ruined it with what sounds like a made-up story. Fake news.
There were 2 of them, Winston and Wiglet, and I think Winston was the one that copped it from the ass. And Colin Farrell, we've all seen the video, Colin, we know you're an ass man. Your word counts for nothing when it comes to burros.
Do you know what, though?
What?
I think that Shrek, the amazing movie that it is, Oscar snubbed, probably. It should have been best film whenever it was released. That version, that portrayal of donkey is like the best rebrand that you could possibly have.
That's the turning point. That's when the inflection went up.
Yeah. Because
And
it's
also,
so lovable and beautiful.
can we just say, for the email writers, we know that donkeys and mules are not the same thing.
That's true.
Yes.
Don't be coding.
But it was written into the script because it rhymed. and rhyming over accuracy will win every time.
Why not?
Yeah.
Now, there was a factory fire in Sydney overnight. Fortunately, the fireys were able to contain the blaze, which was great, but the attention to detail, not so great.
About 11 o'clock last night, received calls to this factory on fire, large factory warehouse on fire, really heavy with... About 11 o'clock last night. Do we know what's in this? Stop.
Now, we're all having a laugh, but give the bloke a break. It's been a fair while since it wasn't just another illegal vape shop. This bloke owns the air conditioning warehouse next door, and he was stoked that nothing had been damaged, but it turns out he had priorities apart from his air cons.
I'm a Holden man, and I love Holden, and I collect them.
What were you more concerned about, your cars or the aircon?
Yeah, the cars more than the aircon.
I've got to say, as a Rangabogan, aircons and Holdens, you are the coolest man ever. He's my hero.
All right, we've got to go to a break, but we'll be back. Victoria Police are searching for the erratic driver who sent locals fleeing for their lives while speeding in a stolen car along a footpath in Port Melbourne last night. How incredible is that vision? It's believed the driver was deliberately trying to target a pedestrian, someone they knew.
Wow.
Witnesses say it's amazing no one was seriously injured.
Sure enough, this car's just chasing this bloke, like dead set. He's run straight into the pole just behind us here. Yeah, I think he clipped the guy, nearly sideswiped another car. It was just, insane.
Penrith Panthers and the Cronulla Sharks are tonight winging their way to Las Vegas ahead of the opening round of their NRL season at Allegiant Stadium. Canberra Raiders and New Zealand Warriors will also play in Vegas in 10 days' time.
Time to see what else is making news around the world.
The Pope's health has improved slightly as he battles double pneumonia. His latest blood tests and scans reveal the inflammation in his lungs is easing. The 88-year-old has been in hospital for 6 days now. There are reports the Swiss Guard has been rehearsing his funeral. But Italy's PM says he was alert and responsive when she visited him yesterday, with his sense of humour intact. It's being called the biggest discovery since Tutankhamun's tomb was found in 1922. Egyptologists have unearthed the original resting place of King Thutmose II near the Valley of the Kings. Among the artefacts inside, fragments of alabaster jars with his name on them. His mummy wasn't in the tomb. It had been found more than 200 years ago at a nearby location, likely moved there by looters. And nearly 300 people have been forced out of their homes after a burst water main turned a Detroit neighbourhood into an icy mess. As the water flooded through the streets, it froze quickly in the sub-zero temperatures, leaving cars trapped and families without power, heat and water.
It's kind of crazy that they're just walking up and down our street with boats.
It could be weeks before residents can return home as the massive cleanup gets underway.
Obviously that's horrible for a lot of people, but there are two people who I reckon love that. The kids in the bulldozers, they were having a great time.
Oh, living the dream.
Yeah, and then like parking inspectors who are ice skaters. Great day for them. We're off to a break. See you soon. Back to the project.
Tonight, Ukraine-US relations have imploded after a gobsmacking attack from Donald Trump, who's labelled President Zelenskyy a dictator in a wild tirade that's left the world reeling.
An extraordinary slur.
A dictator without elections.
Levelled not at Russian dictator Vladimir Putin, but at his opposite.
A modestly successful comedian. President Zelenskyy talked the United States of America into spending $350 billion to go into a war. And the only thing he was really good at was playing Joe Biden like a fiddle.
Trump taking aim at Volodymyr Zelenskyy just a day after falsely claiming Ukraine started a war with Russia.
You should have ended it 3 years. You should have never started it. You could have made a deal.
President Trump, unfortunately, lives in this disinformation space.
That response triggering today's escalation.
Zelenskyy better move fast or he's not going to have a country left.
As the world called Trump out.
Trump is showing us that he sees one of the world's most brutal dictators as his friend, and our longtime democratic allies in Europe as his enemies.
The aggressor here is Russia. They were the ones who illegally crossed into Ukraine, who invaded Ukraine.
Putin started this war. Russia started this war. And anyone who thinks otherwise is living in fantasy land.
Trump's claims about Ukraine's elections?
Well, we have a situation where we haven't had elections in Ukraine.
Countered.
Ukrainian law specifically forbids holding presidential, parliamentary, local elections at a time of war.
His claims about Zelenskyy's approval rating?
I mean, I hate to say it, but he's down at 4%.
Debunked. Polls this month showing almost 60% support for Ukraine's president.
We have seen this disinformation. We understand that it is coming from Russia.
So what is Trump's endgame in parroting Russian propaganda, and what does it mean for Ukraine?
Well, Steve Clemens joins us from Washington, D.C. Steve, what was your reaction when you saw President Trump call President Zelenskyy a dictator?
I felt like we were in an episode of that TV show Stranger Things and the Upside Down, where you're in a totally another universe, where all of a sudden the bad guys are good guys and the good guys are enemies. I mean, it's just a crazy moment when Donald Trump calls Zelenskyy a dictator. And I don't know what that makes Vladimir Putin, but apparently Trump likes Putin a lot more than he likes Zelenskyy, and that's just odd for a lot of people to hear.
I kind of gave up on Stranger Things after season 3. Can I give up on this too?
You know, I don't want to say I wish we could, but this is reality. We're going to, this is the gift that keeps on giving. We're going to have to understand and kind of, come to terms with the fact that Donald Trump, who's very powerful, one of the most powerful people in the world, just sees things very, very differently. And he's repositioning America's alliances in a very new way.
There's no doubt that is true. And I guess I'm trying to figure out exactly what's behind it. Does Donald Trump quite genuinely have a problem with Ukraine for some reason? And if so, what is it?
I don't know if he has a problem with Ukraine, and we also see that Donald Trump often overstates something. I mean, we've seen him impose tariffs on countries and then flip them back. And I think what we've seen on Ukraine is, he came out and said, hey, we'll help Ukraine if you give us $500 billion worth of rare earths and rare minerals and materials that the United States needs for its industry as the price for the United States continuing to help Ukraine, and then backed off of that. So there's a lot of, yo-yo effect that's going on in Donald Trump. But he sees Ukraine, I think, as a pawn in a chess match that he's playing with other leaders. And I think right now he's willing to sacrifice that pawn. Ukraine just doesn't matter that much to him. What seems to matter to Donald Trump is a very different and more positive relationship with Russia. And I think that's hard for a lot of people in the country to digest and understand where that's coming from. And it's certainly hard for NATO allies and other allies in the world saying, what is it with Russia? We saw this in the first term of the Trump administration where he just, likes Putin. And we keep seeing it. That's coming about again.
What about American people? I mean, it's been decades where Russia has been the enemy. We've seen Rocky. We get it. It's been axiomatic, right? So are the American people along for this ride?
Yeah, well, I think that the thing to look at is we've got Senator Kennedy, who's very conservative, a conservative senator from Louisiana, Senator Wicker of Mississippi, Senator Risch from Idaho, Senator Tom Tillis of North Carolina. These are all real conservative national security foreign policy voices that are sort of choking and coughing right now on what Donald Trump is saying and doing. And I think it's going to be very important to watch where the conservative wing of America's foreign policy establishment is when it comes to what Donald Trump is doing. And I think we may be seeing the first big crack in Donald Trump's hold over some Republicans that aren't going to buy this direction that he's going.
Hey, Steve, since the inauguration, how many quiet days do you think you've had?
They're not going to be many. And, look, it's great for media.
There is that.
I guess the good guys win.
Steve Clemens, as always, thank you so much for taking us through it.
Thank you.
Still ahead, mattresses on the floor, lack of cleanliness, all the home decor, deal breakers, which apparently mean you're a walking red flag.
You're watching The Project. Welcome.
A dereliction of duty, critical delays, a devastating misdiagnosis. Tonight, grieving parents are demanding answers and action after a hospital's systemic failures stole the life of their son.
Hey! Are you happy in your new chair? Look. Yeah.
This is 2-year-old Joe Massa.
Hello.
Bye. Joe loved dinosaurs and exploring in his garden. On September 14th, Joe's parents Eloise and Danny took their son, who had been vomiting through the night, to Northern Beaches Hospital Emergency Department.
The system let down this family in the absolute worst way possible.
Joe was suffering from significant hypovolemia, a condition that occurs when the body loses too much fluid. The standard treatment, IV fluid resuscitation. Joe's heart rate, above 180 beats per minute, was dangerously high. He was pale and flat. Despite this, a nurse triaged Joe as a low-priority Category 3 patient, requiring treatment within 30 minutes instead of the red zone Category 2, which triggers treatment within just 10.
The emergency department was not overcrowded. Staffing was adequate. So there is a concern as to how the triaging went so wrong.
For more than 3 hours, Joe's parents say critical warning signs, their child's skyrocketing heart rate, limpness, rash and loss of consciousness were missed. That, despite his excruciating pain, Joe was denied pain relief and for 2.5 hours, a bed. Joe's mum's repeated pleas for an IV drip ignored.
I didn't get to cherish the last moments with Joe because I was too busy trying to find adequate care for Joe. As a mother, you have to do everything. You have to fight to the last second. As Joe is dying in the bed, unaccompanied, not on a drip, left there to cruelly die.
At 10:47 a.m, little Joe went into cardiac arrest.
I got there, Elle was on the phone screaming. Joe was just lying on the bed by himself. There was no one else around. And I touched Joe on the face and said, "It's okay, mate, you'll be okay." He vomited up and went into a heart attack.
He couldn't be saved.
Can you say Dada?
A review conducted by the hospital identified multiple failures, including failure to recognise deterioration and failure to respond to parental concern.
Unfortunately, one of the most damning things coming out of the report is the failure to listen to mum.
Northern Beaches Hospital is operated by private healthcare provider Healthscope. The nurse and doctor in charge of Joe believed to still be working in the New South Wales health system. Today, his parents are demanding accountability and urgent reform. Their son betrayed, they say, by a system that failed at every level.
Eloise and Danny are with us now to talk about this a bit more. Guys, before we get into the details of the story with you, first of all, just tell us a bit about your son. What was Joe like?
Joe was the most beautiful, bubbly boy. He loved dinosaurs, loved running around with his older brother and sister, had the most infectious smile, and his hugs were like nothing you've ever felt before, especially when he would give the hug, nestle in to the nook of your neck and then pat you. He would be the one patting us, and it was just the most beautiful, beautiful hugs.
I thought that amongst the medical fraternity there was a feeling now that parental instincts, a mother's instincts, should be respected and listened to, and yet critical warning signs were missed that you were trying to alert them to. Why do you think that happened?
On Healthscope's actual triaging of 1 to 4 year olds, it says red zone, and then in bold it has parental concern. So it's part of their policy that they have to understand and listen to parental concern. He was in the red zone. He had a massive heart rate, and Elle was advocating for care for hours in there, and they just ignored it. There's the REACH protocol, which the government is government policy that the hospital has signed up to, and we'll fail to give any information on that.
We are calling on a statewide campaign about the REACH protocol, which is a government initiative implemented well over 10 years ago and has fallen to the wayside, so that every single person in New South Wales has at the back of their psyche, they're empowered and they know what to do, what actions to take when they are feeling unsafe in a hospital and when they want to escalate a rapid response pathway. So it shouldn't be another box that hospitals tick and put a poster up on the wall. There should be training for staff to also let patients know, and also a text message sent to every single person that walks through any emergency department in New South Wales, so that they are given contact details at their fingertips to make that call and to escalate when they're feeling that they are in an unsafe situation.
Danny, you're calling for accountability. What do you want to happen?
So accountability from the top to the bottom of the Northern Beaches Hospital, an independent review into that emergency department. And we want answers and accountability. Accountability can't just be having a serious adverse event report given and some recommendations that everyone goes on their happy way, collects their paychecks, and Joe just becomes a number in the past. What happened to Joe wasn't just an isolated mistake. It wasn't a red or blue button being pushed. From the moment he got there to the moment he had a cardiac arrest, 3 hours and 47 minutes later, not one opportunity or not one interaction that hospital or its staff policies, procedures was followed correctly or implemented correctly, or the correct diagnosis or action was taken. It's a systemic failure, and my fear and Elle's fear is that if that happened on that one day, it's more than likely going to happen again, and we don't want that hospital, it's our local community, to be an unsafe environment for our family and friends. We want them to be able to have trust in the hospital system and believe if they take their child there that they're going to get care and they're going to get listened to, and the mother or the parent isn't going to feel helpless and trapped in an emergency department ever again.
Danny and Elle, your loss is so unimaginable for most people. How do you uncurl yourself from the fetal position to make this claim, to advocate for other parents so that they will never be in your situation? How do you get this strength?
We have 2 other children, and so that alone forces you to get out of bed and to continue to put one foot in front of the other out of pure love for them, but also so much love for Joe. Joe would want us to be still being the best parents that we can ever be. And Joe would want us to be making meaningful change for his tragic loss.
What does life look like now for you guys without your boy?
It has and will always have a hole in it. There's something missing, and that's Joe in our life. It's tremendously hard every day, but as Elle said, we've got 2 other young children that we need to be the best we can to shape their lives so that they can have the best and happiest life that we can give them.
I think everyone can see that your pain is matched by your strength. It's hard to speak about this, we can tell, but thank you so much for doing so, and all the best with it from here.
Thank you.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
And because you're never more vulnerable than when you're in a hospital with a sick child. And the thought, just watching them, and they're so beautiful, and he was such a lucky, lovely little boy to have them as parents, and still they're his parents, but it feels like there could be a personal element to it, and that just destroys you. Yeah. All of it destroys you.
Such an avoidable tragedy. I don't know how they continue on.
But that's why it's so important that
they're doing this.
Yes.
Yeah.
But what I part of me also thinks, and we spent 4 years in hospital when my eldest son had leukemia, and so there's a whole gamut of people and personalities and systems that you have to navigate. And sometimes I think even what they're advocating for, as soon as you reach for that reach or whatever it's called, they'll be like, oh my God, well, if you don't like what we're doing on the ward, do you know what I mean? Sometimes you encounter those people.
I do know what you mean, but at the same time, that doesn't mean it will be ineffective. It doesn't mean that...
No.
You know, there are so many great doctors and nurses out there.
There are.
And there are so many that will respond to that thing because that policy is there.
You're right. Yeah. But it's just so many broken hearts.
Yeah, and it's so hard in the face of that sort of grief.
Yeah.
It's very difficult. Anyway, a statement from HealthScope is on our website if you'd like to read it there.
Let's get a look at more of our top stories from today. And Australia's unemployment rate went up slightly in January to 4.1%. That's despite 44,000 people finding work and workplace participation hitting a record high. This may be good news for job seekers, but it's not so great for homeowners. A strengthening jobs market may delay another interest rate cut from the Reserve Bank. A snort from Langbrook.
There's always something, isn't there?
Well, at least it's better than a cramp.
We began.
Anthony Albanese unveiled a $2.4 billion lifeline for the Whyalla Steelworks. The joint funding deal with the South Australian government is designed to secure Australia's steel manufacturing industry. The bailout comes as the US threatens tariffs on steel and aluminium imports. A big chunk of the money will be spent turning the steelworks into a green steel facility.
We cannot just be a quarry that exports things overseas.
Proof will be in the pudding, yeah, for sure, but it's good news for the town.
And Sanjeev Gupta, who owned the Whyalla Steelworks, also has a Tassie business. And you know Jackie Lambie isn't happy with you when her tone goes from politician to this.
I want to know what is going on in Georgetown at Temco. That's what I want to know today. It's also, by the way, Mr Gupta, just so you know, our whistleblowers from your factories that have worked in there and working in there now have been coming forward since before Christmas time, since I've been over here in Whyalla. So I know what is going on in there, mate. We have a problem.
Started as Jackie Lambie, ended as Hulk Hogan. I love that. Gupta, it's a steel cage match at Whyalla Media, brother. She was right down the barrel, cutting a promo, ready for the fight.
pretty.
Who are you backing? Who are you backing?
Lambie every time. You'd always back the lady from Tassie.
Now, it's not just men's behaviour that can give women the ick, apparently. Their home decor can as well. A new survey has found 43% of women would not date a man who doesn't have a bed frame. A lack of cleanliness was also a big issue, with 70% of women turned off by dirty dishes in the sink. 65% says facial hair in the bathroom or dirty clothes on the floor was also a turn off. A smelly apartment would see 80% of women heading for the door. It's a long, long list of things you can't be.
That is insane.
Wait.
Insane.
There's no bed frame?
No. Would that put you off?
To be fair, I would think twice.
Well, and they were looking at it in a negative way. It was 43% of women wouldn't date a bloke that doesn't have a bed frame, but 57% of you will. Let's go. That's who I'm looking for. Think big, think positive.
Play the numbers.
Play the numbers.
The half glass full. I hate when that ant gives me the ick. You know what gives me the ick? Someone who would walk into that second bedroom that we saw would just look at the unmade bed and not see that magnificent Jaguar lamp. What is wrong with that woman? She deserves to die alone, clutching a copy of Eat, Pray, Love in one hand and a bottle of white wine in the other. That's magnificence. Just me.
Started as Jackie Lambie. I don't care what your bedroom looks like, brother. I'm coming in.
I don't need a bed
Oh dear. You're watching the project. We'll be back soon. Welcome back.
Now, our next guest is the actor and comedian finding light in the dark stuff.
Back in the early days of YouTube, Akana was busy raising a generation.
Someone I'd been seeing romantically told me, don't worry, I'm still down to chill and have all the perks of a relationship without any of the emotional accountability. Now freeze on my big, dumb, stupid face.
Blending comedy with valuable life lessons, Anna and her mustachioed alter ego have racked up millions of subscribers.
911, what's your emergency?
There's someone in my house.
Do you rent or own?
She's dabbled in pop stardom, big screen cameos, and even collabed with Daniel Radcliffe, but stepped back from performing live for one particular reason.
We should inform law enforcement about the stalking and submit evidence just in case you ever need to get a restraining order.
Another one. Last time I got a cake, it was very yummy.
Oh my God, coping with humor is such a strong defense mechanism for you.
But now she's back into stand-up, armed with a restraining order and so many stories to tell.
Making her Down Under debut, would you please welcome Akana? Welcome. Now, restraining orders, just to pick up on that there, don't sound that funny. How do you find the funny?
Well, I really think with traumatizing events, you have the option to cry or laugh. And I want to make money from my trauma. So that's what I opt to do.
Well, it may as well be beneficial to you.
Yeah, in a financial way.
But apparently, because there were multiple stalkers, and one was a woman.
Yes, actually, she was my best stalker. So I had a lady stalker who would come to my house.
A lady stalker.
You're
still using lady.
Yeah.
I like that.
You know, it's a male-dominated environment.
Yeah. I had some gentleman followers. Lady stalker.
But in DEI, of course.
Absolutely.
She was the top one.
Oh, she brought me cat sweaters, mochi. She sent me some Bitcoin. I was like, meanwhile,
She sent you Bitcoin?
She sent me Bitcoin.
What?
Yeah.
Sorry to get serious. What year?
She bought at the top. And
Like, how did she send it to you? Did she send it to you in the digital wallet?
She gave me like a MetaMask ID. Yeah. She got me a little NFT.
All right.
Well, I mean, that wasn't a great investment, was it?
No.
But hang on, why did you break up with her?
Honestly, when she stopped stalking me, I missed her a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. Not gonna lie.
Now, you talk about using comedy as a coping mechanism. Is that something you recommend?
I really do believe in taking the dark things in your life and finding some kind of relief through them. Like, I have been a suicide prevention advocate for 17 years. I lost my little sister that way in 2007. And I think when you go through that kind of really dark event, you are singularly able to help people experiencing that. And if you can bring levity to something like that, it's a catharsis that you don't really get to feel often. Like, I saw Margaret Cho perform stand-up, and it was the first time I saw an Asian woman talk about death in my life and on stage. And it just really pierced me in a way that nothing else has.
And I suppose you can get other people to laugh at it because you've been through it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So if someone else tries it, it doesn't quite work in the same way. Yeah,
absolutely. Like, I think it's all about like letting people understand I'm okay now. It's scars, it's not wounds, and it's giving you the opportunity to laugh about something that usually you don't have the option to, or it feels inappropriate to.
Something else that seems to be scarring you, though, just judging by your recent YouTube content, is Gen Z. You do a lot of Gen Z.
I love it.
What do you find so funny about Gen Z?
I think Gen Z they just got the short end of the stick. I think they grew up in an environment that really sucks for them. And I think I love how deadpan and dry they are about everything. They just do not give a shit. Yeah. Am I allowed to cuss? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, it's Australia.
This is Australia.
Okay.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
You've got about 8 left.
And some of them can start with different letters. And then it's up to you.
Okay, all right.
You're our guest. Swear away.
Wild ride for you, though. You start on YouTube. And then you find you do all sorts of things, but you find yourself on the set of a Marvel film.
Yeah.
Can you believe that happens?
I still can't believe it. It feels really like even watching you guys on screen, like I have a conception of you, and then I get to be face to face with you. I don't think you ever get used to it, right?
Yeah.
We are very intimidating.
Yeah.
This is the Marvel movie of Australia. Now, I read you grew up in a military home.
Yes, I
What
did.
sort of upbringing is that like? Did it help shape your comedy?
My dad's a strict U.S. Marine Corps officer. He's definitely influenced my ability to be like a businesswoman in the funny spaces. But he's great. He volunteered for the Ukrainian War in 2022 for 6 months. Yeah, to get out of a promise he made to my mom to move back to the Philippines. So he was like, I'm gonna go to the front lines of the war. So there's a big chunk of my show about his adventures over there.
Yeah, right.
Oh, wow. This is incredible. Well, enjoy your time here and make sure if you are able to, head to our website for all the details on how you can get to Anna's Australian shows as well. Would you please thank Anna Akana?
Have a great one, pretty soon.
Welcome back. Now, tomorrow, Aussie rockers You Am I join us live for a big surprise as they celebrate 30 years of their ARIA-winning album, Hi-Fi Way.
Great album. I look forward to many questions about grammar. Anyway, Gogglebox is back, and so are Australia's favourite couch commentators. There is one major change in the upcoming series that I have to tell you about. Keith has himself a brand new stubby holder.
What?
The navy blues. And it's got a bottle opener.
That's what I like, bottle opener.
I can open the bottle, but you know what the worst part is? You've got to take it off first. Take it off, then put it in and drink it this way.
Even though they're a twist top, Keith.
Let's see if he's figured it out yet. Please welcome Gogglebox royalty. First is first, and we will get back to the stubby holder in a second.
I'm lost without it. It's not in front of me.
This is weird. We only ever see you in your lounge room, and now you're here, and I feel like we're doing something wrong. Yeah. Are we allowed to see you in your like outside your...
Yes, we do actually get up and go out and we do things.
In my head,
but
you're
here we
just
are again,
in that
sitting
living
down.
room, just there, all the time.
In the couch.
Yes, there's no other rooms in your house.
He usually doesn't have a shirt on though. This is freaking me out.
He's really...
I covered up tonight.
And also, Leigh, does he get regular pedicures? Because the soles of your feet are so soft. They're so soft and smooth.
He used to wear boots all the time. That's probably why.
I've retired now, so don't wear the boots as much.
Yeah, right.
And then I had an operation on my toe. I had arthritis in my big toe.
Oh, you're old.
All right, okay.
Yeah, and then but Leigh took me to one of those, what are they called?
Oh, first time ever he's gone and had his feet done, you know, like...
Yeah, you sit in the chair, and you get a massage.
A pedicure.
I said to the lady, I said, put a tally up, have a bar, and you'll have every bloke It's an idea.
Yeah.
You and me, Nick, okay?
I'm in.
We'll make a fortune.
You know what, Keith? Girls who give massages have discovered other ways to make every man quite happy. But I
Really? We'll talk about it later, Kate.
I love your wholesome thinking. He's a beautiful man, never let him go.
Are you guys going to watch this interview back and review it at a later date? Like a TV show in a show in a show?
Absolutely. Just to see how yous go, and we'll talk about you guys.
Well, so you have been watching us backstage, so how have we been going?
Very good so far.
Really?
Nick's been pretty... He's been all right. Wally, normal professional. Georgie, magnificent. Kate, hilarious. Hilarious.
What a little ride.
No happy endings, come on.
Now listen, but you've got a new stubby holder, right?
Yes, I did.
Which I think is a testament, by the way, Leigh, of how a happy marriage works, that you feigned interest in him and his how it works. Beautiful work.
Yeah.
However, this is our question. How much is he drinking every episode?
If we watch 5 or 6 shows, so there's probably 7 beers there. But he has
It's
to have
only a coincidence I've got one every time I'm on telly.
Probably has
That's all.
a couple before we start. Just depends.
Do you up the intake? Do you up the intake depending on what show you're watching? Like certain shows, you're like,
Some shows I just have about an esky there, and I just pick up because some shows are just unbelievable.
If you see me with a wine, that means I'm watching something.
We like the code.
Yes, I
love it.
You see that a lot.
Okay, but talking of shows, have either of you ended up having to watch something for Gogglebox that you've actually been surprised by, that you've ended up loving?
Well, we've
The SBS shows
never watched
actually.
anything on SBS.
Yeah, right.
And sometimes we get to watch them alone.
Alone, yeah.
We watched alone.
yeah,
And I said, where do you sign up? Because I want to go. Get away for a couple of months.
I think
There's no peak.
I think on that show you only get to take a certain number of items. So how many stubby holders are we talking about?
There's not the stubby holders, what goes in it.
Hey guys, congratulations are in order for you as well though, because you recently celebrated your 39th wedding
39th.
anniversary. As someone who will one day be married potentially, what is the key? What's the key?
Getting married in the first place, isn't it?
And the husband's always right.
Oh, yeah.
All right, if you follow that rule, you won't last.
Really?
What would you say, Leigh?
It's really
communication.
trust, and we tell each other even some things I don't want to tell him, and some things he tells me I don't want to hear. But yeah, we just always tell each other everything. So if someone said to him, "Don't tell Leigh," the first thing he does is come up and tell us. Got to have trust.
Well, don't ever let each other go, because the hopes of the nation ride on you two.
I thought maybe you with the pedicures.
Well, the new season of Gogglebox premieres tonight at 7:30, straight after the project, exclusively on 10 Play and, of course, on Paramount Plus. Would you please thank Leigh and Kate?